Agency, November 19, 2020, to order. Would the clerk please call the roll and make the announcements?
Thank you. Matt Conant.
Present.
Nick Abdus, Elena Lee Reeder.
Here.
Chris Burns.
Here.
Brian Holloway.
Here.
Cyril Salah.
Here.
Angelique Ashby. Jeff Saris.
Here.
Rick Jennings. Sue Frost.
Here.
Don Natoli.
Here.
Susan Peters.
Here.
Patrick Kennedy.
Here.
Phil Cerna. Or
Lisa Nava's here.
Lisa Nava, thank you. We do have a quorum. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This meeting is being recorded and will be aired on Channel 14 on Saturday, November 21st at 2 p.m. and Sunday, November 22nd at 9 a.m. This meeting will also be posted on SAFCA's website within 48 hours after the meeting. As a courtesy, please remember to mute your microphones when you are not speaking. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any public comments at this time?
I have not received any public comments, Chair Kennedy.
And that gets us to item number 1, the Executive Director's Report.
Thank you.
Lindy, can you bring up the screen?
Bring it. It is up.
Yep.
I can't see it. Can other people see it?
If it's federal fiscal year 2021 appropriations.
Okay. For some reason, I can't see it, so I'll have to. It's not a problem. It must be on my side. So I wanted to let everyone know what's going on with federal fiscal appropriations. As you know, the fiscal year starts October 1st, and Congress passed a continuing resolution which temporarily funded the government through December 11th. But there has been some movement on the Energy and Water Development Appropriations Act, which is the one which the Corps is funded under. So our projects are under both. The House had already passed their version. The Senate a couple of weeks ago released their draft version. Natomas had $131.5 million in both versions of that. And so we're just going to have to wait and see how quickly they can resolve those. But both versions also included a work plan, which is the pot of money which Congress gives the administration to divvy up among the various projects. So I can't see where we're at, Lindy, but can you go to the next slide there? It should show the amounts for both of the work plans for both the House and Senate. As you can see, the Senate side was a little more generous, a little over $300 million. The House side had about $200 million, and the two categories which our flood projects are funded under. And then there's a couple $100 million in both the House and Senate side for environmental projects. The reason these are important to us is we're pushing and asking in the work plan for some additional funding for Natomas, and then also on the environmental side for the temperature control shutters up at Folsom Dam. They would be funded under environmental pots of money. So we're wanting to get construction funding for that this year also. And then it's not shown up there, but there's also some money for investigations, and that's where we're asking for funding to start the YOLO comprehensive study, which we anticipate being included in the Water Resources Development Act of 2020, which we hope will pass before the end of the calendar year. So, Lindy, if you go to the next slide, I've told you earlier in the year at Folsom Dam, there's some concerns there about the status of whether or not that's going to keep getting funded. As the Corps was proceeding along, Lindy, if you go to the next slide there, Corps was proceeding along with their design. They realized they were significantly over. So we had already been receiving annual appropriations for the dam raise, and then in 2018, as part of the supplemental, they provided another 216 million, which was supposed to fully fund the project. The cost estimate was going to be basically about 200 million over. And so went through and came up with a new design that was reduced that cost significantly. There was a change control board in Washington, D.C., July 6th. And as a result of that, headquarters asked that the Walla Walla district, any view of the next slide there, that the Walla Walla district, that's their center of expertise for cost estimating. They asked that they put together an estimate based on the new design. In July, the district had thought the new design we were going to need about $82.5 million more. We should have the certified cost estimate from Walla Walla District next week, right before Thanksgiving. Our understanding is it was probably going to go up above that a little bit. So part of the problem we have is based on the benefit analysis done in July at the time of the change control board, the BC ratio was only 1.01 to 1. And a couple of things. One, they won't fund it if it's under 1 to 1 under Unity. And then also we're competing with some other projects that need some additional funding too. And so generally the better BC ratio fares better in those types of competitions. So last month, about a month ago, the district or headquarters, allowed SAFCA to present them some categories that we of benefits that hadn't been quantified yet. And so we're working with the district now to quantify those, and headquarters has said they'll wait to make a final decision till that is done. Right now, they're hoping to make that decision in December. I just wanted to make you aware of this because at this point, we're not sure how much additional cost is going to get added to the cost side of the equation, and how many of those benefits we're going to be able to get quantified between now and December. So it's a little bit at risk now, and we're putting all our resources towards it, and the district is also. But the raise is very important. It's part of the overall system. We've designed the system. We're widening the Sacramento Weir and bypass. We're doing all the work along the American and Sacramento Rivers to allow the flows from Folsom to increase safely from 115,000 to 160,000 for a few days in large flood events to allow us to handle larger storms and to really make this effective. The raise needs to be part of that. We really, without the raise, lose a lot of the benefits that we're investing in the system there. Plus, it makes it more difficult in our plan to get to 500-year level protection if the raise isn't there. So I just want to keep you appraised of what's going on. This is our biggest concern right at the moment, and hopefully we'll have some good news before the December board meeting. So with that, I'll see if there's any questions.
Any questions of Rick?
Yeah, Chair, I have a question.
Go ahead.
So, Rick, in terms of the conveyance and getting to 160, I mean, this has been a topic of conversation for a long time. And I'm curious as how it is that the Corps is not aware that the raise is an integral part of what they've already invested in.
Well, they are aware. The problem is the way they do their analysis. They partly because our projects got authorized separately and not as one big project, but also they have what they call their incremental analysis, and so what they'll do is each increment has to stand on its own 2 feet. So the problem we're having right now is the raise was authorized back in 2004, and it was going to get built then, but then got delayed because the Folsom mods got turned into the JFP and everything. Well, now we were going along fine until they came up with needing more money, and so when we go and update the cost estimate and the benefit analysis, now all the other projects are in place. Well, they've taken all the base benefits, and So the problem is, if you look at it as a whole, we could support another $18 billion worth of construction. But because of this increment, the additional costs and the benefits that aren't already attributed to some of the other work is making it difficult to justify. So I agree with you, Jeff. It doesn't make sense to break it up like that, and that's part of our discussions going on right now. And that's why we're trying to then have them look at some of the other benefits, which they never didn't think we needed to go quantify. So we're working on those now.
Well, thank you for doing the work. It's got to be frustrating to try to get an entity like that to think holistically.
Well,
Especially because there's a lot of change of staff over all these years.
there is. That's part of the problem too. There's not much historical knowledge and everything. So
You are the keeper of historical knowledge.
I wish that wasn't the case, but unfortunately, sometimes we locally here have a little more of the historical background than some of the federal folks do. So,
Well, that's why we keep going back to Washington, right?
yeah, that's right. And actually, on this case, we have Congressman Matsui's office is fully engaged, and both of the senator's offices are aware and participating. So,
Good.
yeah.
Well, thank you for all you do.
Any other questions? Oh, all right. Next item.
We have consent matters, and items 2 through 12 are in order.
Do any of the members of the board have any questions about any item on consent?
I'll move the consent calendar.
Second, Charlie Burns.
Moved by Holloway, second by Burns. There's no public comment, I take it, Lindy?
No, I have not received any public comment.
Okay, then please call the roll.
Matt Conant,
Yes.
Elena E. Reeder,
Aye.
Chris Burns. Chris is on mute. Chris Burns,
You're on mute, Chris.
Did you get me? Aye.
thank you. Brian Holloway,
Aye.
Cyril Shaw,
Aye.
Angelique Ashby, Jeff Harris,
Aye.
Rick Jennings,
Aye.
Sue Frost,
Aye.
Don Natoli,
Aye.
Susan Peters,
Aye.
Patrick Kennedy,
Aye.
and Lisa Nava.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Separate matters. And before we get to separate matters, this will be a public hearing. So board members know, it requires 2/3 member approval. And we will open the public hearing. Then we will receive comments and have any questions before closing the public hearing. Lindy.
Item number 13, public hearing, resolution of necessity number 2020-124, authorizing an eminent domain action to acquire a portion of Sacramento County Assessor's Parcel number 274-20220-054 for the Reach A component of the American River Watershed Common Features, the Thomas Levee Improvement Project. Property owner John Perry as trustee of the John Perry Separate Property Trust dated December 27th, 2018. And as Chair Kennedy mentioned, pursuant to section 1245.240 of the California Code of Civil Procedure, this item requires a 2/3 or 9-member approval vote to pass.
Mr. Bassett.
Good afternoon, members of the board. I'm going to take this one from Mr. Bassett this time. My name is Matt DeGroat. I'm the real estate program manager for SAFCA. And as Lindy just read off to you, before you there is a request for a resolution of necessity, number 2020-124, authorizing an eminent domain action to acquire a portion of Sacramento County's assessor parcel number 274-0220-054 for the Reach A component of the American River Common Features Thomas Levee Improvement Project. And as previously mentioned, the property owner is John Perry, and as trustee of the John Perry Separate Property Trust dated December 27, 2018. The property in question is located at 2178 Garden Highway in the Thomas Basin area of Sacramento. Acquisition of the property is required for the Sacramento River East Levee Reach A component of Phase 4B of the aforementioned project. Attachment A is a map of the project reaches, and Reach A of the project is located on the bottom of the exhibit of the map. Attachment B is a zoomed in image of the Natomas Basin and shows a little bit more specific location of the property in question, located at 2178 Garden Highway. You can see at the bottom indicated by the APM indicator down there, and it is located just upstream of I-80 and adjacent to the Sacramento River. Attachment C is a sketch that shows the various improvements along Reach A, which include installing an adjacent levee, cutoff walls, seepage berms, an operation and maintenance road land side of the new levee, and the relocation of various utility infrastructures. On the property in question, Lindy. On the property in question, due to its location on that bend of the river there, it's going to be impacted by a cutoff wall and a seepage berm. So attachment D to the staff report describes the property description and the necessity for the acquisition. Attachment D1 describes environmental compliance documents that support the project. Attachment D2 describes environmental considerations that were taken in selecting the mitigation sites for the project. Attachment D3 outlines some reasons for various design criteria that came into play for the project. On September 10th, 2019, SAFCA sent a letter to the property owner advising him that the upcoming levee improvements project will most likely affect his property. On November 12th, 2019, SAFCA sent a letter to the property owner advising him that SAFCA was preparing an appraisal to, in fact, acquire a portion of his property in fee. On August 17th, 2020, SAFCA provided a formal offer to the owner to purchase a portion of his property in fee for at or above the full fair market value of the property as determined by the appraisal. Attachment H to the staff report summarizes the discussions that occurred between SAFCA's right-of-way agent consultant and the property owner, in which they discussed the effects of the project on his property, what would need to be acquired, and the general right-of-way acquisition process that needed to take place. Unfortunately, these various discussions and negotiations did not result in a signed purchase and sale agreement. So on October 30th of 2020, SAFCA mailed a written notice to the owner of the property advising him that this board would hold a meeting today at this time to consider the adoption of a resolution of necessity to acquire the property by eminent domain. Attachment H, this shows the legal description of the proposed acquisition of the property, and also indicates that there is going to be access reserved back to the property owner so he can reach his residence. And next slide, Lindy. And then Exhibit B, this is a plat of the property which indicates the location of the proposed acquisition. It's about an acre in fee, and you can see that with the hashed kind of the hashed area right in the middle of the plat. And if you look very closely, you can see the reserved access easement back to the property owner. So as I mentioned before, the various negotiations with the property owner, as recently as early this week, they have not resulted in a signed purchase and sale agreement with the property owner. However, if this board does choose to adopt this resolution, SAFCA will no doubt, we will continue to negotiate with this property owner as long as possible to hopefully reach a negotiated settlement, which we feel pretty strongly we can do that. However, due to the project schedule, unfortunately, we need to take this step today in order to ensure that we can meet our obligations to the Army Corps and provide certification to them by the middle of March of 2021. So with that, we would ask this board to adopt this resolution of necessity, and I can take any questions if we have them.
Are there any questions of staff at this time from the board?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Don Natoli. I have a question on the offer that was made for the loss of the area of the orchard that's going to be the acquisition. How was the calculation done on that? Is there for the maturity of the trees, their production value, that all roped into or rolled into the appraisal?
The appraisal does take into consideration all of those, all the factors, all the extraneous factors, and I should note that SAFCA did make an offer to the property owner at the fair market value, above the fair market value, and since that time through negotiations, SAFCA has increased that offer. So in order to try to meet the property owner at a negotiated settlement. We just haven't quite got there yet.
No, I was aware of that. I saw the kind of the back and forth in the documents you provided us, but I just want to be clear. So with the appraisal, you have someone familiar with agricultural properties, with valuations, not just for the stand of trees or the irrigation that's in place, but whatever replacement value or loss of productivity. Because if the land's acquired free title, there's not going to be any orchard there. So obviously, whatever investment was made, whether it's fully recovered or not, and again, I'm not familiar with appraisals to the degree that I'm even asking the question. I just want to be sure that that was all taken into account.
Yes, all that is taken into consideration when appraising the property. They try to get a complete picture of the property and the loss of the trees. And John, I think you're on the line here. If you have any more detailed, pertinent information that you think could help answer this question, feel free to hop in.
John Bassett, Director of Engineering. Yes, the appraisal was, which is not necessarily the item that's before the board today, the dollar value that's due to the owner, but the appraisal was based on developing the property as continued residential, and then the counter offer that the owner made to SAFCA was based more on a orchard valuation and value of fruit and trees loss approach. And we reviewed his information and closer to his number than SAFCA's number for the different ways to value the property.
Okay, that helps, John. Again, I know obviously you might even anticipate a question from me, but I just wanted to be sure about that because again, obviously there's future use and there's existing use, and certainly reflects a lot of historical, but maybe even the future uses of that property. So, okay, I know we're not doing the valuation. I just want to be clear about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Through the chair, what's the present dollar offer on the table for him?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that question? You cut out a little bit there.
Through the chair, what's the present dollar offer that's from SAFCA to them right now? Isn't it $87,000?
Oh, the first written offer, the official offer that was made to them was $95,700. So that was the fair market value appraisal, which included an incentive to a 10% incentive. So since that time, there has been subsequent negotiations.
Can anybody who's not speaking at the moment please mute your microphone?
Through the chair, I think that's a pretty fair offer, actually.
We believed it was, yes.
Any other questions?
Would you like to approve? So,
No, we have to open the public hearing now.
Sorry.
So with that, I will open the public hearing. Is there any member of the public at this time that would like to address the board on this issue? And again, if anybody is not speaking, we're getting a lot of background noise from somebody. Mute your microphone. Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on this? Lindy, do you have anything?
Chair Kennedy, I did receive an email stating that the appearance was not going to be made today.
Okay, thank you. And if we have no member of the public that would like to comment, I will close the public hearing. And if there's no more discussion, we'll entertain a motion.
Chair, I'll move the resolution of necessity.
Second by Conant.
Okay, we have a motion by Harris and a second by Conant. Would you please call the roll?
Matt Conant,
Yes. Aye.
Elena Lee Reeder,
Aye.
Chris Burns,
Aye.
Brian Holloway,
Aye.
Cyril Shaw,
Aye.
Angelique Ashley, Jeff Harris,
Aye.
Rick Jennings,
Aye.
Sue Frost,
Aye.
John Natoli,
Aye.
Susan Peters, Patrick Kennedy,
Aye.
Lisa Nava.
Aye.
We do have 11 member approval. Motion passes.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you, board. Are there any other comments or questions of the board?
Chair, I'd just like to reiterate for people who may not have been on early that today we dedicated Natomas Oaks Park, the actual oak grove, to Ray and Judy Trethaway as the Ray and Judy Trethaway Oak Preserve. And I'm quite proud of that action. I think it was very appropriate, and I just wanted you to be aware of it.
Thank you, Director Harris. Anyone else? And with that, I will wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Stay safe, stay small gathered, and we're adjourned.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Cheers.
Thanksgiving.